But I just noticed when I was uploading that last one, it didn't actually show the document I was trying to show you on the screencast file. So I've screen capped that, and I'm going to post it with the videos on the Facebook post. I'm going to try and wrap this up as well because I realise it's obviously time consuming for people to watch, and I think we're already at the 40-minute mark now. So, then you got this from the Gatestone Institute. Okay, they're a New York-based non-partisan think tank essentially, and they've got this research here, which actually says only 1 in 3 British Muslims would contact the police if they believed that somebody close to them had become involved with jihadists. And when I first found this last night, I actually thought that said only 1/3 would not, which I thought was bad enough. Okay, but this is even scarier. So just over a third, just over a third, would contact the police. So where do these people's loyalties really lie? That's the question you have to ask. Okay. And some of the other statistics on here are equally as sort of frightening, really. 23% of Muslims say that Sharia law should replace British law in areas with large Muslim populations. I mean, I remember there was a big scandal maybe a couple of years ago now about some American guy who'd said that Birmingham was a no-go area. Certainly, there's parts of London where I think the police try and avoid if possible. I mean, as I say, I was a police officer for a relatively brief amount of time. I was in a very white middle class area, and the crime and stuff, did reflect that. But as far as I'm aware, from knowing people who've worked in these areas, I've been to Birmingham numerous times. I've been through Bradford. Places like that. they are Islamic ghettos. Certainly in the case of Bradford. Increasingly places like Luton, Watford. They have these. It's almost as if white people aren't welcome there anymore. Essentially. So the fact that these people are saying, close to a quarter are saying, in majority Islamic areas, they should have these. They should have Sharia law that trumps British common law, or any of our other legislation. Is absolutely frightening because they're almost like they want to turn them into Pakistani or Bangladeshi exclaves within the UK. It's like these places are being lost to Britain. Okay, and so that's one side of it, is the Islamic threat. Now, what goes hand in hand with that is the apologists, the people like most mainstream politicians these days. There's nothing conservative about the Conservative Party, especially in terms of social policy. I think most Western political parties are just so liberal in terms of social policy. Certainly, the only thing you can really separate them on is potentially economic policy, which I think ties into this. We might not have time to go to talk about that in this segment, but it's something I will be discussing in the future, whether in a post or a video or whatever, because I've got my own opinions on why this multicultural agenda is being so intensely protected, and I think there's definite economic ties to it. Okay, here we go. British journalist. He's come out saying a snapshot of London's magnificent diversity in those injured. So he's saying how brilliant it is, essentially, that these people from different cultures, different nationalities have been injured. Okay, brilliant. So the fact that there's a Frenchman, a Romanian, a Korean, a German, a Polish Irishmen, all the others, um, is somehow preferable to them all being Brits? Is it? Or, it being one German and one Brit? I mean, these people are just fucking idiots. Um, and, this agenda of diversity in their mind trumps the fact that this tragedy has happened. And that's what I alluded to in the post yesterday when I was talking about the sort of journalistic integrity and how shambolic I thought it was. I mean, the BBC coverage of it, the live BBC coverage. Okay, the woman who started off the narration saying, run, go, move. She used the words that the police officer used, but I think she used them in such a way that they're intentionally trying to sensationalise the events that have happened. I think these people are. I think these people at the BBC and these other news outlets are today genuinely more concerned with the incident being a story than genuinely thinking that the incident is a tragedy. You had the guy reporting on it as well, who was talking about the 3 French school children who'd been hit. Okay, he's trying to claim essentially that he started talking about the Paris attacks. Okay, and he was saying that these French children have likely come to the UK to escape the horrors of the French attacks. Okay, now that is fucking reaching. What person would come to that conclusion? Okay, the 3 French school children haven't come to London to get away from that. They've probably come on a school trip or something, or just with their parents on a holiday. And it's this kind of sensationalization, which I think actually demeans the tragedy itself. Be fucking impartial. Tell the fucking news. Don't try and make some fucking, Greek tragedy out of it. It's not a fucking play. It's fucking real life, okay? And there's people left there dead on the pavement, fucking with horrible, potentially life-changing injuries, and you're there almost fucking making a mockery of it for the sake of fucking ratings because you see it as some fucking art form. These people need to get a fucking grip, quite honestly. Like this cunt here, fucking George Eaton. Get a fucking grip, mate. But the politicians enable all this kind of shit, like Theresa May, saying earlier, I think this is a corruption of a great faith and all this. Start addressing the fucking issues. All right, stop the pandering, stop the cover ups and everything. I mean, we all know what's going on, but in the minds of these people, this leftist agenda of maintaining this facade that multiculturalism is still alive and well, it's just complete bollocks. And I mean, I was going to talk about diversity here. Okay, you look at these people he's listed. Okay, and people always talk about how Britain has got such a great and vibrant, colourful history of immigration and accepting refugees and these kind of people. Okay, well, for starters, it's always been on a much smaller scale. Secondly, generally these people have had much more in common in terms of culture with the French Huguenots, the Maltese, Greek Cypriot populations. And then even after the Empire Windrush, okay, people were coming into this country in numbers that were manageable, where they couldn't really create ghettos. They were forced into integration because there weren't really enough of them. Whereas now this sort of almost unchecked level of immigration, where you've got people coming in from all over the world. I mean, I just don't understand the immigration policy anymore. I always thought it was kind of EU and Commonwealth, but when you've got so many people from South America arriving, I just find it bewildering.